What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on high altitude investing. In today's video, I'm going to be running over 3 coins that I expect to see a lot of upside movement as this bull market continues. I'll also be running over why I think this will happen from a technical perspective and running over a little bit about what's happening on the short term with Bitcoin again. Just to give you guys an idea of what I'm expecting in that market as well. So it's going to be really awesome in today's video. Make sure that you stay clear till the very end to maximize your value and your learning from this video. You guys, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more regular content like this. That's the best way to get a hold of that content. And then also commenting down below coins that you want me to run over. The last video that I made was a Tezos update, and that was requested by you guys. So I do go ahead and do those videos as I see the ones that are best fit for the community. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. So these 3 coins are ones that I'm personally looking at to see a lot of upside throughout the bull market. Now that doesn't mean that there won't be a lot of other coins that are rising. Generally what happens in a bull market is you do see a lot of coins rising together. However, these coins are looking very good, so I want to talk a little bit about why they do look so good and share with you guys what I'm seeing in these charts. So NEAR is the first one that we're looking at here. This one is on Binance, but there's also a lot of other places that you can go ahead and trade it. If you're ever wondering where you guys can trade certain coins, you can always go to coinmarketcap.com and search the name of the project, and then click under markets, and it will show you all of the different places, all the different exchanges that you can go ahead and buy that coin. So that's a really awesome little secret for finding where you can buy these coins at. And most of those exchanges just take a few minutes to sign up. And, after that, it's just whether you want to have some increased security with like two-factor authentication and things like that to help with your account security. Anyways, NEAR is looking very, very good. And one of the very first things that we're looking at in a bull market is obviously higher highs and higher lows. It's not the only thing that we look for, but that's the definition of an uptrend. And what we can see here with NEAR is that we do have a very clear first higher high, first higher low is down here. Then we get another higher high right here, a higher low right here. And it looks like we're going to be breaking this resistance and going for another higher high. There's a lot of bullish coins right now, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if this does just push right up through resistance. There can always be a pullback at resistance. There can be consolidation at resistance, or you can just push right through. Resistance doesn't have to stop, right? The market doesn't have to stop at that level. It just means that that's an important level to be aware of. And so, yeah, I do think NEAR is going to see some nice upside, you guys. We're worth $18 right now. And as we break above this next higher high, the market will continue to get more parabolic. So what does that mean? If you type in a market cycle chart, you'll notice that the market cycle, as it progresses, gets steeper and steeper. So it starts off pretty consistently low here. And then as time goes on, it gets steeper and steeper and steeper and steeper until it's too steep and cannot sustain that growth and comes back around the other direction. And so that's what going parabolic means, but it starts out like this. It starts off as a very consistent trend. Now, if I was to double click on my chart, yeah, some people might say, well, Dallin, that looks like it's already parabolic. You have to understand context of cycles, meaning that if you go to a chart and you're on the 2-day candlestick and you double click on this chart, the chart may already be zoomed out in such a fashion that it looks really steep. However, if you stretch the chart down and you give a little bit more context to the cycle, then you can see that this is actually more of a consistent, steady uptrend that is forming. This hasn't gone parabolic. So we can look at another example of a market really quick that did go parabolic in the past. What you can see here with Bitcoin is the start of the cycle was more like what we're seeing here with NIR. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So the start of the cycle was consistently growing. However, this was not a very steep growth curve yet. It wasn't parabolic. As you can see, it was growing fairly steeply, just like AVAX or just like NIR. You can see these charts are growing and they're growing fairly steeply. And when this was occurring, it looked a little bit more steep than it does now too, because as charts rise in value, the previous chart price history shrinks. And so it begins to look a little bit less steep. But when this was actually happening, this looked, pretty much exactly like what's going on with NIR, what's going on with like AVAX, and a lot of top altcoins. So really, to me, these cycles are pretty early, and they have not gone parabolic. When they do go parabolic, this is the type of price action that occurs. You start to get very, very steep in price action. It starts to get steeper, as you can see right here, and then it gets incredibly steep at a very sharp angle, and that's what leads to a bear market. So that's what parabolic means, that it starts off at a more consistent, steady growth, and as time goes on, that growth becomes unsustainable, parabolic, and nearly vertical. And in my opinion, when it comes to NIR, we have not seen that nearly vertical price action yet. Yes, it is steep. Yes, we are in an uptrend. And if you're zoomed all the way out, or if you're zoomed all the way in, it does look fairly steep. But as I said before, that's exactly what Bitcoin looked like. And as the market continued to develop its uptrend, you start to see what steep really means. And you start to see what parabolic really means. And as you can see, we have increasing volume, increasing price. This coin, I suspect, will see a large move yet. Still early in its trend. And I do suspect that we see price action that's much more like what happened on Bitcoin when it went from being worth, a couple $1,000s up to $20,000. That's the type of parabolic action that we have not seen yet. And when that happens, it's going to be ridiculous, the type of mania that we see, and it's going to be everywhere all over the news. We do have a little bit of media coverage now, but it's nothing compared to what comes when the market goes parabolic. So NIR being worth $18 now, I personally suspect will go well up above its previous high of $20. We could see $30, we could see $40, we could see $50, and it will continue to break higher highs and higher lows until it becomes unsustainable. So that's what I'm seeing in this chart with NIR, and things are looking really good, you guys. We also have, on the shorter time frame real quick before we switch to the next coin, we do have a rounded bottom, which I love seeing that structure. It's the same type of structure we saw right here, and it's also the same type of structure we saw Dogecoin do the other day before it saw a very nice parabolic breakout. So keep an eye out for those rounded bottoms on different time frames. It's a very profitable pattern. NIR is looking very, very bullish, you guys. So on with AVAX. This is another coin that looks a lot like that. As you can see, why I'd be showing both of these in the same video, because they both, again, they still have that consistent, steady uptrend. We're not parabolic to the point of overvaluation. You can also see that from Elliott waves, this is a 1 and a 2 wave. We also know that wave 3 can stop at either 1618 or 2618. So I'll just drop that wave 3 down. Since we have not measured yet, I'll measure this, and this is a little bit more advanced if you guys are new to my channel and you're like, what does he mean by 2618, 1618? What is he even talking about? This is just the relationship between wave 1, wave 2, and where wave 3 of every market cycle stops. This is called Elliott wave theory. It's a way of mapping out market cycles, understanding where you're at in the various impulses. Wave 3 stops between 1618 and 2618. These are the most common places. So that means that wave 3 is either already done and that this was wave 4, which is fairly unlikely considering the fact that wave 4 came down into wave 1. And normally there's a little bit of room for retrace into it, but actually for the most of the time it doesn't retrace all the way in. But either way, this is either the top of wave 3 right here at the 1618, or the top of wave 3 is yet to come, and that still leaves room for a massive wave 5. Either way, you guys, whether this market goes up a little bit higher, comes back down one more time, or whether that this is already 3 and 4 in place, wave 5 is coming, and wave 5 reaches up to the higher extensions. It goes beyond wave 1 or wave 3 as far as how big it is. It's usually extended in crypto. So that means AVAX is worth $88 right now, you guys. This coin can easily go well over $200 because wave 5, again, in crypto is extended, meaning that it's usually bigger than the size of wave 1 or wave 3. In fact, it's usually bigger than both of them combined together. So that means that this wave 5 is going to be very large. Now, this is something that I'm not going to get into exact targets because this is stuff that I do teach in my VIP, and this is one that I'm going to be sharing exact targets in my VIP group, and so I'm not going to be getting into that in today's video here publicly. However, understand this 5 wave is going to be large. So that leads me to believe that $88 is undervalued for AVAX because wave 5, even if it was the same size as wave 1 or 2, wave 1 or 3, I mean, even if it's the same size, that still leads a massive expansion coming here in AVAX. It's still undervalued in price. So I'm very, very excited for price action coming in this project. But this is not the only one I want to cover in today's video. Also, this one does have good volume as well. Sometimes on certain exchanges, you'll get a huge spike like this, as you can see. But usually what you can actually do is you can just look and see the volume excluding that spike, because those spikes are often due to large orders from one specific whale or a group of whales, or there can just, it's not going to appear on every exchange. That spike won't. So sometimes if there's a spike that's dwarfing the other volume spikes, it can be useful to get it out of the way so you can see the volume from this point on out to get better perspective. And by doing that, you can see that AVAX has increasing volume and increasing price, that this was a huge spike in comparison to those ones, but this is still a bullish volume profile. Okay, so one more coin, you guys, before we go here today. Happy Friday, by the way, everybody. These coins, I do suspect a lot of growth coming throughout the bull market in all of these coins. And Rune is definitely showing a very, very bullish chart pattern. So let me show you what happened to the internet bubble, to the entire stock market. Like, we're talking stocks indexed together. This is the IXIC. So this is going to be a lot of major stocks indexed together. And I'll show you what happened to the internet bubble, what it looked like. Because in these videos, you'll hear me say over and over again how market cycles are fractal in nature, how they're repeatable, how even though they're not usually identical, sometimes they are, but they often rhyme, so they're close enough that you can compare them and get a very, very good idea of what's coming in other projects. So this is a really awesome comparison, you guys. Something you probably won't see every single day, but this is a nearly perfect comparison. Again, these rhyme. It's not going to be exactly perfect, but this goes to show what I'm talking about with market cycles being so similar. Here on the bottom, we have the NASDAQ, the IXIC. Here's the internet bubble from the early 90s till 2000. And then we have the recovery leading up until 2008, where we had another big crash. And then we came up out of all of that and led into a huge bull market that, by the way, we're still in. So if we look at Rune here on the top, our last coin for today's video, except for the short term on Bitcoin, which will only take us just a few seconds, and then I've got something really awesome to share with you guys at the end. But here on the top, you see Rune saw the same market cycle leading up to the same crash, the internet bubble, the same kind of crash that came after the internet bubble. And then what do we see? A recovery in price, and then basically a repeat of what happened to 2008, that same kind of crash back down to support, shake everybody out, make everybody believe that the market's dead. But what actually happens as a result of that, all the people that invested in 2008, instead of panic sold the dip or thought that they were smart enough to short, that thinking that they're going to be able to be smart enough to short after a 50% correction. All the people that bought, instead of trying to outplay the market, instead of thinking that they're going to be able to short, the people that bought in 2008 were greatly rewarded. And you can see that we have the same type of market structure forming here in Rune. So that's very bullish. In fact, in some ways, Rune to me looks even more bullish than the IXIC did at that time, because we actually have even more of a wedge structure, which has a tendency to lead to an even bigger breakout than what we see here in the NASDAQ, where we don't have quite as big of a wedge structure. It was more of a triangle, like what happened on Bitcoin. Bitcoin saw a lot more of a triangle breakout. So that's really awesome here, but the same market cycles form, the same structure forms. The point that we're in here on Rune is nearly identical to that point, that exact point on the NASDAQ. So I expect a huge bull market coming in Rune. And this is really, again, goes back to what I've been teaching in all of these videos that we watch together, or that you watch on this channel, and that I make, and that we learn about this together here. As you can see here, what is the definition of every single market cycle? That it repeats, especially if it's something that has high demand, like crypto or gold or stocks. These market cycles repeat because money keeps coming in. Goes overvalued and undervalued. Well, all of these cycles repeat, but they also have the same patterns. Again, they rhyme, and every single one has what's called a first sell-off. And that leads into, there's a huge bear trap where everybody tries to short the bottom of the first sell-off. That leads into media attention, enthusiasm, greed, delusion, new paradigm, this huge expansion. What do we see here on the NASDAQ? A first sell-off was the entire internet bubble in the early 90s was the first sell-off. And what do we see in the NASDAQ? It has begun that expansion. And it's probably in like enthusiasm is pretty much exactly where the NASDAQ is in its cycle right now. And it will lead into greed, delusion, paradigm over the next 8 years here with the NASDAQ as it finishes off its cycle. But as it does that, you can see that Rune is in its first sell-off. So it's early on. It's very early on. It's going to expand out above just like how the NASDAQ did. And then it too will get into the enthusiasm, new paradigm, euphoria, greed. and crash eventually. Now, I'm not going to get into targets. And when I draw these lines, I don't want you to think that that just means it's going to instantly move straight vertical. It could. It usually is a little, it does have to build some momentum. If you look at the NASDAQ, it still built momentum. It wasn't straight vertical. It can be on some coins, but it's usually a little bit more of an angle. And I also want you to be aware that these targets are not going to be something I'm sharing here, but they are going to be higher than what most people expect they will be. And I will share them with my VIPs, my masterminds, and everybody that are in that. So last but not least, short term on Bitcoin. Rune looks very good, you guys, as you can see. I'm expecting big things coming. And Bitcoin's doing that same thing. Look, first sell-off, breaks out up above. And you can see that now we're getting into that point where we're going to move into enthusiasm, greed, and it will get overvalued on Bitcoin as well too, but we're not there yet. So let's talk about the short term on Bitcoin. In yesterday's video, I talked about how support and resistance is a range. In today's video, I just want to run over very quickly this ABC correction. So I'm on the 3-hour time frame. Normally we don't drop this low, but you can see we have an ABC correction here. That's a very high probability pattern. I suspect that leads to a reversal. This isn't financial advice, it's my trading journal, but you guys, these patterns have a high degree of success. The ABC correction is a very high probability pattern. It's the same thing that formed right here, and you can see that we had a nice break up out of that. It's also the same pattern that we see forming on a lot of altcoins in the bigger picture, and it's the same pattern that we saw form on AVAX here. From this peak down to this low was also an ABC correction. It's a high probability pattern, and it's one that I have made a lot of money trading over and over again in these markets. Again, you can see here we also have an ABC corrective pattern between this peak and this low right here. So you definitely want to watch those, and Bitcoin on the smaller time frame is forming a nearly perfect ABC correction. So that's really bullish, you guys. So thank you for everybody that stayed clear till the end of today's video. As I said, I do have a special treat for you guys. My mastermind program is still available for you to get inside of that program if you're looking to make your first 100,000 or your first million. I have helped multiple people make their first $1 million investing in the cryptocurrency markets. In fact, my good friend made more than a single million, multi-million investing in crypto markets using these same strategies that I'm teaching in the mastermind program. And I really did it to help people prepare financially because we have a huge expansion coming in crypto, in the world markets, and that expansion will lead to a correction afterwards. So the opportunity really is now to make money off the investing as things expand, and also to help fight that inflation, which we're all seeing happening every single day around us. As you know, hyperinflation is getting ridiculous. And so you invest to fight that inflation and also to prepare for the crash that comes afterwards. And that is really the opportunity that we have in the markets, but also to help people make their first 100,000, their first million. Like I said, my good friend has made multi-million investing. Also, I helped make my first female millionaire student last year. She reached out to me and let me know that she reached her first million investing in the crypto markets. So that was very, very exciting. And the opportunity is here ever still for us to make those gains. And I'm here to help you guys do that. So if that's something you're interested in, apply below. It just takes 20 seconds. You can start literally this Saturday, which is tomorrow, by the way, and start watching the first live session. Start learning, watching as I'm taking these trades. Look at the portfolio I created that I'm taking from $10,000 to $100,000 in these markets. So it's extremely valuable and it's worth every single dollar and then some. And the people that join this program, Like I said, I help you make your first 100,000, your first million, and also I make sure that you reach those goals. I literally help extend people's memberships out if they haven't reached it yet, completely free. So my goal is literally just to help you guys reach those numbers. And it's fun for me to do that and to watch you guys learn what I've learned in these markets. And then you can teach it to other people too. It's a lot of fun. So definitely apply below if that's something you're interested in. I'm especially looking for people that have $10,000, $5,000 initial investments in their portfolio or higher, because I know I can help you reach that 100,000 or million very quickly. So yeah, you guys, thank you for tuning into today's session. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Shout out to my VIP members. I love every single one of you guys as well. Stay tuned for more updates on charts inside of there. And I'm excited about the future price action. Thank you for tuning in again. And as always, stay profitable out there.